This meeting is being recorded.
Either of you.
Can you guys hear me?
I can hear Bella.
Okay, perfect. So, hi, I'm Bella, and then this is Lucy. Felix, Felix can't be here with us for this meeting, but he'll definitely make it to the next one.
Who that? Felix?
Felix, he has a midterm.
Oh,
Yeah, so
no fun.
no, but next week or whenever we decide to meet again, he should be there.
Sounds good. So Bella, I had a question for you. Now, I can tell that Lucy, you're from Australia. Bella, where are you from?
Well, I'm born here, but my grandparents are from Mexico.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I looked over the many things that you guys sent out, and it's like, okay, that's cool. Very interesting. Well, hello. It's good to meet you.
To meet you. Are you in Woodland right now?
I am.
Is it pretty hot? It's hot here.
It's hot.
Yeah.
It's always hotter in Woodland than it is closer to the Bay Area because we're in the valley.
Yeah.
So that's how it goes.
And it was so much hotter. Like it's like a dry heat.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely gotten a little bit worse.
Sorry. This is our first interview too, so it might be like we're still getting in the groove of things, but hopefully it gets a little more comfortable for everyone as we go on. But please bear with us. You're our first person we've ever interviewed.
So I have a question. What's the name of the class again?
So it's called Creating Community. It's
Crea-
in
Creating community?
Yeah, Creating Community. It's an ethnic studies class, and Professor Viola is the professor. Um, and it's an engaged learning course. So we have like the class and then the extra component. I don't know if you guys had it when you were at St. Mary's, but it's like a requirement for everyone now that they take
Creating community as a required course?
an engaged learning course. So to
Engaging.
have something where you like are out in the community or engaging with other people, not just St. Mary's.
Oh, that's
Um,
cool.
yeah, so
Okay.
this is like one of the more fun options, but they have a lot. You can do a lot of different things. But yeah, that I think he's done this a couple times too, so hopefully like yeah, he has good insight for us and good questions and all of that. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. So let's see. Lucy, right?
Yeah,
And you're from Tasmania.
yeah, Tasmania. It's like a little island of Australia.
That's really interesting. And what drew you to this particular course?
Um, yeah, I don't know. My academic advisor, because like we obviously get one, she was just like you'll really enjoy the class, you really enjoy the professor. And I had like an option of staying in this class or staying in Bible and philosophy, and I was like, we don't learn about much like American like ethnic stuff back home. So I just thought it was going to be really interesting, and yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, I was curious. I actually had a roommate at St. Mary's whose last name was Ahern. And
Oh,
I said, I wonder if they're related.
no, I don't reckon.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I think it's a great course if it's about engaging community. I think that's fantastic. Sometimes that's when you learn the most, when you get out of the normal um, constraints of
Yeah.
academia. And
Yeah.
that's cool. Yeah. That's also what I liked about the January term, because you could do other interesting things.
Very interesting classes, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So where do you want to begin? It's your you let me know. What's foremost of interest on your minds as far as me? Why are you even interested in me?
Wait.
There were a couple things. I noticed that St. Mary's has already done an article on you.
Yeah.
That it was really cool, like to read that before meeting you and just to know like that your history is like already partially archived, but hopefully we can get like a little bit deeper than what they did with you before. But it was super cool to learn that you served as the state attorney, that you're first gen. I'm also first gen. And then that you were one of the first women to go to St. Mary's. I think that's so cool. I feel like we forget about that a lot now that the campus is mostly women, which is crazy how that's flipped. But yeah, we can get into the first couple of questions, like when and where were you born? And can you describe what your childhood was like growing up for us?
Very different. Yeah, no, when I came into St. Mary's, I did not know that it had only recently gone co-ed. So at that time, living through it, I didn't understand the significance of it. I just knew that as far as the circle of people that I got to know, that there was very few women. And at the same time, there was still a lot of women right away. We were already going into maybe the third year of it having gone co-ed. So the influx of women seemed to have occurred pretty quickly. So that was cool. That was cool. So early childhood. Okay, let's see. Um, my father was from Texas. His background was Hispanic, Mexican-American, and he was born in 1919, so a while back. But he, he wasn't highly educated. I don't think he finished high school. But the thing about him was he was very bright. So even without the education, he was intelligent, and so he was, as far as his youth, I think he was manual labor, but he did go and he did fight in World War II, and was all over the place. He was in Italy, he was in Germany. He had multiple deployments, and so that's on my father's side. On my mother's side, this is where you get into some interesting things. The family comes from a state which is kind of in central Mexican. It's called Guanajuato. And my grandmother, who was born in 1903, was actually a revolutionary. She fought in the Mexican Revolution in 1910, and she was just a teenager. My grandma, how could I put it? Well, actually, the whole family was what prompted that civil war was there had been a dictator in the country for about 30 years. And he was pretty brutal, pretty exploitive, didn't really care about the general population. And so her brothers are the ones who were pulled into the revolution first, and then they pulled her in, and she must have been 13 or 14, something like that. And so eventually, brothers were taken prisoner. She gave up her virginity to an opponent general or something to free them, and she did. They did free them, and so that was when you get into the issue of the exploitation of women. In my family, it's right there. You have a massive example of it, and an open question is whether or not my mother is a result of that relationship. Or not that it was a relationship, it was exploitation, but I don't think so. My mom was born 23 or something like that. But so that's the one thing that is in the back of my history. But the other is one of those brothers eventually was killed during that war. And eventually that dictator was overthrown. So sometimes you might hear the name Pancho Villa, who was one of the leaders of that revolution. And my grandma was a Villista in my family. So way back, there was the values in the family were to fight for what was right, in my opinion. Now, my mother, the thing about my mom, well, in Mexico, the treatment of women who were no longer pure was not good. Lost woman kind of thing. And it didn't go well for my grandmother. But the result also with my mother, it didn't go well with my mom. And she was extremely beautiful. Here, let me. which was both good and bad for her. So this is a picture of my mom. Okay. And so she had natural beauty and was talented. She could sing and she could dance. And she actually left home when she was 16 to work in Mexico City, eventually as a dancer and a singer. And that's how she supported herself until she met my dad. Now, my dad, she was on tour in northern Mexico. This was in 45. My father probably had PTSD from the war, and he had gone to see the show that she was in, and she was a dancer. And that's when they met. They were married within 6 months. And so he brought her to the United States, and they not too long after came to Sacramento. Now, I was born in 53, so a few years after they had been married. And I think as far as my upbringing, like I said, they both were not highly educated or educated at all, actually. Um, my dad went to 2 years of high school. My mother, I don't think she made it to second grade. She taught herself to read. But they were bright. That was the other great. And my mom in particular was entrepreneurial, and she's the one who got them going into setting up a restaurant. And this was in Sacramento. And so they ended up eventually having two places in downtown Sacramento area. And this, of course, is happening in the late 40s. In 53, they bought a nightclub in Marysville, which is 50 miles north of Sacramento. And that's where I was raised. So, like I say, it's interesting. I mean, I have both the humble background of the family, and at the same time, an entrepreneurial small business family that worked hard to start building up and doing good. I would say that one of the things that they both did was bring to the community an extensive amount of cultural activities, parades, festivals, Mexican dances, the Mexican cowboy. When you see the big sombreros, well, I have a whole bunch of them in my garage. And they were part of the setting up of a Mexican Cowboy Association that had rodeos. We had horses. They did dances, brought not them alone. It was a group of mainly Hispanic small business people that did a lot of cultural contributions to the community in different ways. They celebrated Catholic festivals, for example, the Lady of Guadalupe, who is, so Lucy, I don't know if you know the story of the Virgin Mary, the Mexican Virgin Mary. Okay, so you see the figure a lot, right? She has like an oval look. The story is that she appeared to a native Indian in Mexico, that she requested that 3 churches be built. That's Juan Diego, so San Diego. And so the celebrations around her are intense. There's a high level of belief. Mexico eventually was converted to Catholicism. And so part of the cultural activities that my family was involved in were celebrating the Lady of Guadalupe's Day, which is December 12th, I think. So there's a local parade and, all that good stuff. So if there's one thing that really dominated my childhood was being involved in those cultural activities. Now, in my early childhood, we were not well off. We lived in an urban area, and around the time that I was 13, I think, is when they started to stabilize better financially. They were able to buy a home. Now, the good thing is that Catholic school was not expensive. I think it was $10 a month. And they were able to send me to Catholic school. So I was educated in Catholic schools all the way through St. Mary's, all the way. And so I was very fortunate to have great academics, and my mother in particular was a big influence. She was saying a man can never take away your education. Get yourself educated. And she was always pushing on that. Um, I don't know. So that's a quick little thing on some of that familial history. To I was early on influenced, I think, by my mother and grandmother to become an attorney. In The family did experience some racial discrimination against them because one of them was because there's an Air Force base nearby, and black servicemen like to come to our place. And at one point, the state's alcohol beverage control part of the state government seemed to have targeted them. I remember this. I was old enough to know the kinds of things that were falsehoods that were raised about the family. I don't want to get into all the details on that, but I saw it personally directed to us. I saw also the braceros. Braceros in the 1950s, I think, were legal farm worker individuals that came specifically from Mexico. And they were temporary workers. They were there to work in agriculture. Marysville is the heart of a lot of agriculture. It's the peach capital of the world. A lot of really amazing agricultural orchards that are there, and so the demand for the labor was definitely a part of the community. So I was able to see both sides of society. At my Catholic school, I was maybe one or two non-Caucasian students in the entire school. And the weekends, I saw just the opposite. You know, it was an interesting dichotomy of my life. So as far as my early influences, definitely the cultural activities were a big part. Um, I'd like to add, have you heard of quinceañeras? You have? Okay. So in Northern California, I was supposedly the first to do a quinceañera. So this would have been in like 1968. I have the newspaper article to prove it. And so that was kind of cool because after that, of course, I guess it was one of the first that the church cooperated with having a blessing done at the church, and it was beautiful. It was definitely beautiful. And like I say, the cultural activities of the family, even though they weren't highly educated, but they were very dedicated to putting out positive vibes, influence to the community and options for people. On the personal level, I was highly pressured to study, just keep going on studying. I could not mention a male's name because my mom would get upset. So I had to wait till St. Mary's for all of that. I don't know. I've said enough. I do have questions about any of that. Weird, huh?
The quinceañera is crazy. I did not know that that wasn't a thing before. Like, yeah, that's so crazy. If you have any pictures of that, do you mind sending that to us?
I do have a picture of my quinceañera somewhere. I'd have to find it, but yes, I'll see if I can track it down.
Thank you. That would be awesome.
There's a lot of cool things, but not necessarily handy. The article on the quinceañera is in Spanish.
Lucy, do you have any questions?
Yeah, like you spoke about your family, so I'm like your parents especially. Do you have any like siblings or like other figures in your life that like obviously help shape you and like your values and stuff?
Well, like I said, my mother was probably the biggest influence because of her beauty. bad things happened to her. She was raped multiple times. My uncle, her brother, actually said that he thought he was my brother, that she had been raped by his biological father, her stepfather. And that came up not even 10 years ago. And so it was a biggie, because it was, I, I knew it could have possibly happened just because I knew that she had shared with me over the years that there were at least, uh, at least two times that she was raped. And but once she married my dad, then that was it. They were married for 35 years before he passed away. And so that was one of the biggest influences. But this whole thing about him being my brother raised a lot of interesting issues because I've always thought of my family as a good example of what happens to the oppression and exploitation of women. It's generational, what happened to my grandmother and the things that happened to my mother. And then my uncle, who's in 88 now, I mean, he truly believes that he's my brother. And he, what do they call it? Generational trauma, generational trauma. He definitely displays that. I don't think he's actually my brother, but he believes it, and I can tell he's heard from it. One of his interesting comments, and you're asking me about something significant. Well, this is even recently significant. He said something like, "I had a mother, but I didn't really have a mother. I had a grandmother, but I really didn't have a grandmother. I had a sister, but I really didn't have a sister." And it's my heart's breaking when I hear him say stuff like that. So that's been an interesting thing that came up in my later life. Um, but he was always in the picture as an uncle. I have a brother who's 53, but he was 7 when I went to St. Mary's, and so it's like we're on two different paths as far as our lives, but we're very close. And so there's the brother and the sort of brother. Um, but as far as influences, okay, so one of them was a teacher I had in high school. She gave us an assignment on Native American history. And I did not know about the history of the treatment of of fine. Sorry, can't answer the call. Um, so that was my first eye opener on that was my first eye opener on racial dynamics or the racial history in the country. And it was in my last year of high school. And so that was it was eye-opening. But the biggest influences came at St. Mary's. At St. Mary's, two big ones. One was I came in the year after there had been a lot of intense conflict between ethnic students and the college, questioning the support that the college was or was not giving them. It was my first time meeting other people who were informed about and had lived the impacts of racial divisiveness in our country and the history. So that was a big influence. It really made me learn a lot that I did not know before then. The other one was a January term. You guys probably saw it a little bit if you read the article. It was about women's reproductive rights. In that January term, I met some really interesting people. One that stands out to me was a doctor, a male doctor, who was ostracized in the profession because he was a whistleblower on women being coerced during birth into having sterilizations. And the I mean, if you're in labor, you're in pain, it's an intense process. If you're asked if you want to have any more babies, you're going to say no. And that's what one of the persons that exposed it. Another was an attorney, a very young attorney who was involved in a case of women being forcibly also coerced into sterilizations in Los Angeles at a big medical center there. And I remember meeting her, all part of my January term research. And she said that she had come, they didn't sue on behalf of all of them, but she came across 600 cases of individuals who had questionable sterilizations. Part of what came out of that movement, so to speak, on women's reproductive rights was a law that now, if you want to get a sterilization, there's informed consent requirements. And so the law was changed because of that and her role. Now, that woman became a big time lawyer. She headed a national civil rights organization called the Mexican-American Legal Defense and Education Fund. That was MALDEF. And to this day, MALDEF is a big civil rights organization. But that was a big time influence to me because it really made me much more aware of what my family's history meant as far as the women, as far as myself, as far as other women, and I get philosophical about it, but as women, we go through a lot because men seek us out. There are predators out there. I don't think I have to go through all of it, but yeah, a lot of crap happens. And it made me very much of a supporter of women's reproductive rights, women's right in general. I get really upset over the exploitation and oppression of women internationally, what happens in other countries. Part of that research that I did also showed me that there was other things with respect to testing that happened in Africa on the pill, a reproductive pill. When I did that work, the pill wasn't that recent. It was kind of new, and it had so I was able to find out about how a lot of it was researched in Africa. The other research that I found out about was the powder milk for babies. It was distributed in Africa. Women were not informed about the importance of how it was prepared, and so to make it spread out, they would dilute it, and that ended up hurting the babies. So that's, I found out a lot of stuff during that January term that influenced how strongly I feel about women's rights, women's equal rights, the exploitation of women, and the importance of us to speak out and stay strong. So, okay, I'm sorry, I'm talking so much.
No, that's really good. Thank you. That answered it perfectly.
Which one?
Yeah, you answered the question perfectly.
Oh.
Yeah, thank you. I'll hand it back to Bella. Bella, do you have another question?
It's also interesting to be a female. When I went to law school, which was let's see, I graduated in 79 from law school. I found out that the statistics said there was only 25 Hispanic female attorneys in the state.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah. And I'm saying Hispanic, but I think the statistics were about people with Mexican heritage. And so I knew that I was one of the first. But after that, every time, no matter which job I went to, I was always one of the first. The first time I went into court, the judge asked me, "What are you?" What kind of a question is that? What are you?
Oh my goodness.
And my friend is like, I hope I'm an attorney. No, so I got used to that. Okay, people are not used to seeing a female first, a brown female second, an educated one. And so I don't like necessarily using the word trailblazer, but that's how it kind of worked out. And I was okay. I was fine with that role. Yeah, it's okay. You could survive, and you see the pendulum going back and forth between what I call the good and the bad. What guides me, very honestly, is the Beatitudes Are you guys familiar with that in the Bible? Let's see. I jotted down a little bit. When it comes to my values, having been raised an educated Christian, Matthew 5:7, blessed are the poor, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed those who mourn. Blessed are the meek. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. Blessed are the merciful. Blessed are the clean of heart. Blessed are the peacemakers. Blessed are the persecuted for the sake of righteousness. That's the heart of my values right there. And the other one is the Lasavian core principles of St. Mary's. I said that so much of my influence came when I came to St. Mary's, and that's part of it. I mean, the Lasallian principles talk about respect for all, quality education, concern for the poor, social justice, community, and service to others. Again, those are the heart of my values, right? Those two things right there. Of course, the 10 Commandments have an influence too. I'm anti-war, definitely. Anyway, what else would you like me to touch on?
Just kind of going off of that, like I know a lot of people kind of struggle with their faith when they come to college and they're away from their parents and they don't have like that, like this is what we do, we're going to church on Sundays. Like, was there ever a time for you while you were at St. Mary's where well, you're still Catholic, so how, like, did you deepen your faith at St. Mary's or did you have any moments of questioning it?
Well, I can tell you that I did change when it comes to organized religion. I'm not going to say I went to Mass every Sunday because I didn't. My Catholicism comes down to the Christian values that I adhere to, not so much the ceremonies that have developed or evolved. So I'm just being honest about that. And yeah, I think we all go through that too, questioning and how the values are going to be or not be a part of our lives. To me, I think that it's the values that guide me more than anything.
Thank you for that. I feel like that's definitely like something that I see at St. Mary's a lot with the Catholicism. Like I'm also Catholic and the values are something I like do agree with and I've grown up with, but the going to church every Sunday and like you have to do this, that is less a part of my faith and I think a lot of young people's faith too. But yeah, we can move on to the next question. Um, how do you feel that your upbringing shaped your personality, values, and maybe your outlook on life?
Well, my personality is crazy, but how could I put it? I'm not shy because the family, the interactions that we had with the cultural community in the cultural activities put me out there, and I felt almost an obligation to interact with the community and be a part. And even to this day, I support, well, I love different cultures, first of all, and I respect the different cultures too. As far as that part of my culture that's has its roots in Mexico, really, have influenced me to be open and respectful of other cultures and other people and their beliefs. Also, I have strong personalities in the women in my family. We come from strong-willed personalities. I have a granddaughter that's driving me crazy already. She's 7 years old. It's like ah. So and that's okay. I mean, if you have a strong will and it gets properly directed, then people won't necessarily find it easy to run over you. So that's how part of it, that cultural experience stayed strong with me. And then The other is becoming aware of not just racial discrimination, but other forms of exploitation and mistreatment of people. I already shared with you my views on women, um, but my career was all about working for people that were either underrepresented or not represented legally. People, civil rights. I was very much about equal rights, equal access, the right to vote, the constitutional rights that are frankly under attack right now were a big part of what I've been throughout my life. And so I don't know, did that answer the question? Or did I miss it completely?
No, no, that was perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, it kind of like runs off the back of Bella's question, but I was just wondering like in your upbringing, were there any like defining moments that you would say like changed the way like you saw yourself or like the world around you? And like I know you spoke about obviously your like tie to Catholicism and that how shapes how you look like out into the world, but like is there anything like outside of that?
Well, I mentioned that I was probably for a while I was the only Hispanic in my school, and I did feel isolated. Um, there was times when I wasn't, I was not treated well, not openly discriminatory. It's not like racist things were thrown at me. I was just treated differently. Um, it and in second grade, my parents took me out of school. I found out much later. They took me out for a good quarter of the school year. And so I fell behind and I was held back in second grade. And that made me feel like I was stupid. And it took me years to get past that. It was just back then they didn't have these what they have now supportive programs to help people catch up and tutoring that kind of stuff. They just held you back for another year, and so that happened, and that was very defining because I felt so bad about myself at that time. But I went to high school, and I think that's where I met an amazing friend. We just clicked. She was very dedicated to her academics, and because we always just wanted to be together, we just excelled. She's the one who helped me to realize that I had intellectual abilities, and so she was defining. She was a defining person. She came to my wedding. I went to her wedding. I caught her bouquet. She almost caught mine. Yeah, and her name was Mary Mullen. So she was something else, and made a huge difference in my life. Huge. Um, what else? There are so many little defining moments.
No, definitely like yeah. That was like another perfect answer.
Yes, she definitely meant and when I was in my second year of high school, my Catholic high school closed down,
Mhm.
and I asked my parents and my friend had moved the prior year to Sacramento, which was 50 miles away. I told my parents I wanted to go to the same school as she went to. I followed her and I graduated from Catholic school in Carmichael, which is in Sacramento area. And it was there that someone from St. Mary's came to recruit. That's how I found out about St. Mary's.
Oh,
So again, my friend,
yeah.
she
That's
got me there. She put me in the place to be able to do that. Then there was a nun at my high school, Mercy High, that second high school. She walked in one day with a bunch of papers and she gave one to everybody in the class. Okay, everybody, fill this out. It turned out to be an application for a state scholarship. I never would have done it. That state scholarship paid for my tuition all the way through law school.
Oh.
Is that crazy?
Amazing.
Sister Mary Bridget.
Um,
It would not have happened had she not walked in with those papers. It's like, okay, I'll do it.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Mm.
Oh,
Okay.
All
wow.
the way through law school.
All the way through law school.
Wow.
Goodness.
Incredible, right?
Yeah.
So definitely a defining moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And ultimately, St. Mary's was the only one I applied to
Oh,
as far as college. And so it's like it was meant to be.
yeah.
Did you come to campus before you accepted, or did you just accept right away?
No, I did come to the campus. I obviously it's a beautiful campus, and I said, "Oh, this will do." Initially, I was going to go to a 2-year college that was local in my town, and my dad said, "No, if you can get into a 4-year, go to the 4-year." I said, "Okay," and so I did.
Wow.
I'm interested in finding out how Lucy ended up at St. Mary's. You're from Australia. How the heck did that happen?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like, yeah, they send out like film of me playing basketball, and then like they send it to every college in America. This girl who offered to do it for me, and I guess the coaches, like all the schools watch it, and yeah,
And so they were recruiting you?
yeah, they recruited me maybe for like a year, St. Mary's. So
Wow. That's
yeah,
really, you're still playing, right?
no, so I haven't played. I've only been in America for 2 months, so
Oh my goodness.
yeah.
And so you're not going to be playing at
No, so I came. They can do it with internationals because I finished school in November, like high school, and so I can come early and just do schoolwork for a few months and like train with the girls and get used to it.
Oh my goodness. So you still would be like a walk-on? Is that what, or did they recruited you, right?
Yeah. So I'm a part of the team. I'm technically not meant to start playing till next season.
Okay, I got it because I have a note here, WNBA.
La, la.
Oh, that's exciting. I do have a daughter that played softball for UC San Diego, and
Oh wow.
I'm familiar with all the athletic stuff, right? And they won
Yeah.
a national championship, which was really cool. And
Oh my
she is now a lawyer. She went on to become a lawyer. So there is life after sports, okay?
God. Noted, noted. Wow. That's impressive though. National champion.
A
That's
lot of
crazy.
fun. It was a lot of
Yeah.
fun to watch. Hmm.
Would have
Especially
been.
since I was not athletic at all. Well, I rode horses, but not at St. Mary's.
Oh,
I didn't do anything at St. Mary's.
yeah. Wow.
Hmm.
Like, did you like equestrian? So like you did the jumping stuff or like
Well, remember I told you about the Mexican Association,
yeah.
the Mexican Cowboy Association, Charros. That's
Yeah.
the word for cowboy in Spanish. And the association was made up of people in the local area. They pooled their money. They bought a ranch. They built a rodeo. They
Yeah.
built a stadium, all kinds of stuff. And so as part of that, they had a subgroup of female teenagers. We were all teenagers, and we rode the horses, and we would do stuff in the arena, sometimes crash into each other. And so, yeah, I did a lot of horseback riding for until I went to school, right? I left for school.
Wow,
And
that's cool.
I used to just love horseback riding.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah, it's fun. Mm. But yeah, no, my children have done well. But when you're a parent and you've been through the process, you're of course going to try to help your children.
Mm.
So I made sure that all my kids got through school, and so one's a lawyer, and I have two teachers. And the third one is my stepdaughter, but she became an administrator with the state. And oh yeah, I married a lawyer too. So steady, 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 steady. Um,
What kind of lawyer is your daughter?
she does landlord-tenant discrimination law. So she works in San Diego. She works for the Legal Aid Society down there. Does just, I mean, during COVID, there was a lot of bad things happening to female tenants, because of COVID, and so those were the kind of cases that she was involved in. So landlord-tenant defense, basically. Good stuff.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. And she's the one that was the athlete. Mm,
That's super cool.
yeah.
Yeah, that definitely seems to be like a theme in the family now that you guys are fighting against discrimination and like helping the Latin community in like, well, all over the state if she's in Southern California. So that's awesome.
No, we're definitely a family that is very aware, socially aware of disparities in society. I told you what my guiding principles are. My husband and I are on the same page as far as our values. Same thing. He did a lot of discrimination work as well, civil rights work. And so I don't know, that's true. My other daughter, she's a school principal in a low-income community over here in West Sacramento. My son works as a teacher in San Jose. So yeah, you're correct. It is a family thing now. Mhm.
That's a good thing to be creating that cycle. That's
Mhm.
awesome.
Well, when you look at it generationally, like I say, my grandma was fighting against a dictator. And my uncles, that kind of thing. Kind of sticks with you.
For sure.
Mm.
Yeah, that that's awesome that connection that it's since your grandma. Yeah, that's super cool.
Mhm.
The I guess one of our like main questions that hasn't been answered yet, were there any dreams or aspirations that you had as a child um, that maybe changed as you grew up or stayed with you? I know you mentioned you knew you wanted to be a lawyer, but was there anything else or was that always the dream?
As a child, it was more about survival. Remember, I was telling you about my self-esteem issues as in grade school. Um, and we lived out in the rural part of town, so my nearest neighbor was a block away. Um, I mainly read. I did a lot of reading, encyclopedias. And when my parents saw that I was interested in reading, they went out and bought all these encyclopedia type volumes. I didn't have nothing else to do, so I read. I don't know. What was your question again? I think I lost it.
No, that's okay. The question was like, have your dreams evolved since you were a child, or have they always been to be a lawyer? I think that was the gist of it.
As a child, I can't say that I knew what I wanted. As a child, it was more just growing. I was developing as an individual, as a person, being exposed to the cultural activities, the family history stories. There's different stories, and it really wasn't until my early teens that it sort of, when I was around 13 is when I concluded. And about the time that I met Mary Mullen, my friend in high school. And it was then that I said I could become a lawyer and I wanted to. So from there on, everything I did was to prepare myself for going to law school. In high school, my courses and activities were catered towards that. Um, I excelled in social studies. I was terrible in mathematics, so there's a reason I'm not an accountant. Uh, and it was all about trying to prepare myself. When I went to St. Mary's, I was a government major. Same idea. I was trying to prepare myself for law school and pre-law. Um, my minor was in Latin American history because one of the turning points there was being exposed to people from different backgrounds and also internationally. There was people from the Philippines, people from Iran back then, people from Africa. So international history interested me. But again, it was in preparation for law school. So from there, everything was really very tunnel vision, which is good because that meant I was focused. I had the boyfriends wanted to come around. It's like, sorry, I'm okay, fine, it's nice, but he's anyway. Bottom line is, no, I can't get serious at this point. I have to finish school. That's so I didn't get married until I was 29 after I was licensed.
Do you think that the Latin American history would be like comparable to an ethnic studies minor today? Like, was it similar course load, or would you say it's like a different lens to that information?
No, I have no idea how the current courses are handled. Um, it was fast. Well, first of all, I've always been actually very interested in history. That was just part of me, and I had there was one teacher who was from Chile, and so she taught us a lot about the history of that country. Um, and yeah, no, those Argentina, I don't think it's the same as what you now get because it might be more focused on US experience. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I would say that the ethnic studies program is more like the US experience of like immigrants and
Mm-hmm.
like,
What I can say is that in high school, you're not really taught about these different types of experiences. Like world history back in my day, literally was about Europe. And then first you studied France, and then you studied England, and then you studied, the different countries, but you never knew how they, on the timelines never meshed. So I came out very confused about world history. And it wasn't about China, it wasn't about Africa, it wasn't about South America. No, so um, when I went into St. Mary's, I realized if I was going to learn about other historical things, it was going to be self-directed. So I did take a Chicano Studies course with a very interesting teacher who was originally from New Mexico. His name was Carlos Vasquez. He he introduced a lot of the history on immigration in this country. So that was very interesting. And let's see, there was another professor that was from UC Berkeley that also taught there's about three or four different professors that dealt what I would say is comparable to more current experience. But the evolution of the information has gone way past where it was when I went to school. There's been so many more publications and writings that I'm aware of. Yeah. So probably not. The answer is it's probably not comparable.
Lucy, is there anything else you want to ask?
No, you've answered all our questions really well, but like just like is there anything you'd like to add on? Because there's obviously stuff that we will have missed and like stuff that you deem to be really important to you that we haven't touched on.
The expense of boring you guys. It's like, eh. Um, Well, I think what I'd like to, if anything, I'd like to communicate through this process is the importance of um, being the most that you can be as an individual. Um, and so if you have aspirations, go for them. Um, you will run against barriers, people asking you silly things or saying silly things. Um, when I first went to St. Mary's, somebody said, yeah, no, so-and-so said that the women here are here to get their MRS. And I'm going, what the heck is that? They're misses. So you'll run across stuff like that. It's like, if there's anything I could communicate, it's don't let those kind of things affect you to where it interferes with you going for your aspirations. The relationships will go back and forth. It's a pendulum, and you have to just keep on going. I mean, I have to imagine that, Lucy, you're so far away from home. I have to imagine that stuff. Do a lot of Zoom calls to home, okay? Don't let
Yeah.
that stop you.
Yeah.
And you will encounter pendulums going back and forth in your life. Don't let them stop you from continuing forward, and don't let them run you over. And never underestimate your potential influence on encouraging others as well. The fact that, Lucy, you had the courage to come to this other country to follow these aspirations, both athletic and personal, because you said you wanted to do nutrition too, nutritionist. That's
Yeah.
amazing. You're going for it, and then Bella, you're focusing on ethnic studies. So then don't let barriers stop you from going out with whatever aspirations you want to do with life. Um, and So that's what I would love to make sure to communicate. You are mentors just by being who you are and where you are. And that's wonderful. Um, and don't let all the negative stuff, I mean, it's like the pendulum in this country has really gone zoom. It's like, oh my God, what I've been fighting against all my life is it's frightening, and it's can be overwhelming, but hey, there's still good. It's a struggle between good and evil. The good has to keep going. So that's basically what I hope I can communicate to the class. And St. Mary's was a great place to do it. It was pretty cool. It had its negatives, of course. That's the way it goes. But overall, it was a positive experience for me and good for me. Mm.
Thank you so much. That was beautifully said. Also, just to like prep for next time we speak, we will be speaking a little bit more about your experience at St. Mary's. So if there's anything like you don't want to talk about, like, or if there's a question that just like you don't want us to touch on, that's totally fine. Um, yeah, I'll send those over to in advance, but it'll be more focused on those 4 years at St. Mary's. But yeah, thank you so much for today. That it was really awesome getting to know you. Um, we'll reach out more about availability. But Lucy, is there anything you want to add?
No, thank you so much. Like, yeah, like you've taught me stuff like I didn't even know about America, but also just learning about you is a real privilege. So thank you.
Mm. Yeah, I'm sure that there is a lot. I mean, we have to teach ourselves about our history, as it is, the nuances, what's the experience of the different peoples that comprise our respective countries. I mean, that I would think it's true for your country too, right? There's a lot of diversity in your country too, and I don't know all the history, obviously, but it's fascinating, and that's a good thing. We have to just appreciate where we are, where we can be, and go for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you. I had real mixed feelings about doing this because I already did the prior thing, and it's like, are you sure it's worth it? Okay.
We really hope it is. Thank you so much for speaking with us. Like, we're learning a lot.
Well, I hope I'm valuable to the process, and I really appreciate you. It's really nice that it was you two, and I'm glad that we were able to have the one-on-one, so to speak, without it's just women speaking today, and I like that. Not that I don't want to talk to Felix. But okay, anyway, it was good to be able to freely speak to you about some of the issues affecting us as women and how it can be historical, the role of women, and how it can be personal. So, hey. Okay, bye.
Yeah. Have a great night.
Enough preaching. Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for the discussion and bye-bye. Unless there's something else you want.
I think we're all good. Thank you so much.
Okay. I hope to be able to share some pictures. Like remember I told you about my grandmother giving up her virginity for the uncle? I actually have a portrait of that uncle. And it'd be kind of interesting to share it with you guys. And the history is real. And I'm anyway. Hey.
Thank you. Please share anything you're willing to with us. We would love to see it.
Yes, before the end of how long is this process going to be?
So we're supposed to meet 3 different times. So this is the first. And then hopefully we'll meet with you within the next couple weeks for the second one. And
Okay.
then the third. I think, when did he say we're ending, Lucy? Like around late April?
I think so.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, so yeah, so maybe in the meantime, and maybe after Felix comes in, I can share some of a couple of photos. You asked about the quinceañera one, and this is the first time I had makeup on, and I go, "Who's that?" What? Anyway.
Again.
Bye-bye.
Bye.